been moved second to go into executive session for non-elected personnel for 10 minutes. All in favor say aye. Aye. Motion carried.
I make a motion that we go into executive session for 30 minutes to discuss non-elected personnel. To include Marshall, Davin, Nita, and Mike.
Second.
Okay, it's been moved second to go into executive session for 30 minutes to discuss on non-elected personnel. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Motion carried.
For fire chief. For co-fire chief? Yeah,
Co.
Now, you're assistant fire chief now. Co-fire chief, and let's put that on a 6-month term until May 1st, and then let's revisit the deal. And with that, I would like to pay him a salary of $500 a month.
Second.
Okay, it's been moved and seconded that we appoint Marshall as co-fire chief with a salary of $500 a month. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Motion carried. Okay. Gear. How many? What kind?
Real quick, before we get on that, can I clarify something real quick? The $500 a month, he is a district chief in St. John as well, and they get that $200 a month stipend. So
This is
I just
on
want to
top
make
of
sure,
that.
I just wanted to make sure he'll continue to get that.
Yep.
That's on top of that.
How many sets of gear do you guys think?
We've got it, 61 is the total.
Yes.
So we're talking 25 last meeting.
Right.
And then 61's the total.
An additional 36.
36.
So the 25 has been ordered,
He will be here today.
Okay.
so we increase that to 61. We get a better price.
It's the same price.
And we're going with bunker gear.
Just straight bunker gear would be the same as what you guys approved last time of the 25 quarters.
And that's the 2857.50. Not including shipping.
It's $40.
This includes, right?
Yeah, the one that I gave you guys
The
doesn't.
new one. This one here, the one
That
that
is
is
yours.
But that's just the freight for the 36.
That's just
Right.
That
So
one
we
there.
need to come up with another $104,418.
We had thought that we would pull it from the reserve, the fire
We're gonna have
reserve.
to.
And then after the first of the year, that's how we had designated 60,000 for 65 per year, that we would roll that back into the reserve.
When do you think we need to start looking at the air tanks and stuff?
We are gonna get together, we've already started discussing that. We're gonna get together with the chiefs and we're gonna get a plan for not only the air packs, but bunker gear and wildland gear. So we will have a plan for replacing all of that.
Do you have any idea on that air packs?
I think we still have 5 years left.
Okay, so this is not
On the
something that
tanks.
we're looking at 180,000 next year.
Not
So we
Okay.
can build the manufacturer.
Right, we can build the
Right.
money up, but we'll get a replacement plan so that we're not replacing all the air packs at the same time.
I want a copy of your plan so I can give it to the auditor, so she can project ahead. She's really good at that.
Now, are these tanks barcoded or obviously they have a serial number?
Well,
So is there a quick way to identify what the age of the tank is so we don't say, oh, we've got 10 over here that
Yeah, they've all got a date on it. They've all got a sticker.
they have an expiration date on?
They have a manufacturer.
Manufacturer date, yeah.
And it's easy to read and figure out.
15.
15 on tanks for sure.
15 for manufacturer, 15 for.
Right, so the way it happens is when they make the tanks, then it gets hydro tested there at the factory. We have 3 hydro tests per bottle and 5 years in between each hydro test.
Ready?
Okay.
Make a motion that we buy 36 sets of bunker gear from Emergency Response Solutions for the grand total of $104,418.
Motion. I will second
Okay, it's been moved and seconded. We'll go ahead and purchase 36 more bunker gear from First Response Solutions for $104,418. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Motion carried. What's the expected delivery date on this?
I will speak with him. Like I said, he's gonna get here between 3 and 5 this evening. He'll be here all this evening and then all of
Is this to make,
Measure.
measure, is that what you,
We've got
and everybody
everybody.
knows the kind? Cool.
Devin sent out a message yesterday to all the fire departments, all personnel that, they need to make arrangements to get finished the year.
Where you guys have talked at the chief's meeting about guys that show up for a lot of fires and start wearing their gear out in 6 or 7 years, replacing their gear and then putting their gear back for the newer firefighters.
Newer people.
I like that idea, instead of the idea of throwing gear away that's got 3 or 4 years of stuff left on it.
We wouldn't
And
really
that's part of the plan that we're gonna be working on, which is in 6 years we'll be replacing high use gear with new gear. That way we don't do this at one time again.
Yeah.
When it does come in, you guys want us to come back and we will permission to this part to go through.
Yeah, I mean, yeah.
Just go ahead.
Do whatever you gotta do, you have to, you really can't give it out to anybody, because if anybody uses it, got burned up, it'd be our fault, right?
There have been some people that express an interest in maybe painting with people accounts, so I think it's probably would take a lot of out of it.
You may ask,
Manual pieces essentially.
you may ask that, and this is just an idea, I mean, I think they do plays, school plays at Stafford, school plays at St. John. You may ask the people that should charge that, if they like 2 or 3 helmets, 2 or 3 coats, if they would do a play with firefighter, it'd be good gear, but other than that, I don't see how you could put any gear in it. But, I think we have an issue, it's not a cut in salary, but it's just where your salary's coming from. When Moody was here, he was the EMS director, fire director, and emergency preparedness director. And so 40% came from EMS, 40% came from fire, and 20% come from emergency preparedness. I think where you're basically over the fire and Misty's over the EMS, we'll probably, we need to leave any in the EMS or just take all? We'll take, so the 40 that comes out of the EMS, the 40 that comes out of EMS will now come out of fire. And then instead of 20% of your salary coming out of emergency preparedness, 10%. So do I need to make that as a motion for doing that? All right, I make
Just
a,
a point of clarification. I think this started before the meeting.
okay,
I think it's Bolt was here.
I guess
Because
it's
he was wearing all 4 hats.
And at that time, they were considered the EMS fire and emergency preparedness director. I make a motion that we change where the money comes from for the fire director's salary. It needs to come 90% out of the fire department, 10% out of emergency preparedness.
I've done this too many years.
It's like playing cards with Stockton. He writes the score down before the games are even played.
And then the second, that we change around the budgeting for the salaries. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Motion carried.
Anything else?
That's it.
All right.
Good luck, you
All
guys.
right, thank you guys. Where is
Software things.
Amy's gonna be a little later.
Yeah, I told Amy to come at 9:15.
Where are the 2 cents a minute?
You
Because
have your regular
it's
minutes
special.
and your special meeting.
I make a motion that we accept the Stafford County Commissioner meeting for November 7th. Second.
It's been moved and seconded. We accept the minutes of November
7th.
7th. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Motion carried.
I make a motion that we accept the Stafford County minutes for the special meeting on November 7th.
Moved and second, that we adopt the minutes of the special meeting on November 7th. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Motion carried. Then we need a tax roll. No. Huh? No? Oh, that's just that.
You ready?
We're ready.
So I have an update on Sandyland. After Glenn left, I stepped looking into that a little bit and talked to Todd briefly. And my question was, if the tornado were to go through, who's responsible for all that? And comes up that we're responsible for that, our office, for that equipment that's out there. So after I did some digging around, they sent somebody out to look at the equipment. They're wanting to put the equipment up for sale on Purple Wave. And I think they've determined that you own the building and the grain bins. K-State does not own that. So I believe they signed papers on that Friday, sent them to Manhattan. So once they're signed in Manhattan, we're now the official owner of,
Are the 10 buildings?
well, the round top,
Yeah.
possibly not the garage door, but
Oh,
I
I've
don't.
heard, yeah, I remember that.
Yeah, I think in the email said, this is from campus. I think from our perspective, we don't need or want the building, so we would proceed with a DA 110 to remove it from our inventory. The sticking point is, do we need KDOR, which I'm not sure what that is, approval to tear it down, or can we just simply turn it over to the new owner? We are researching this right now, and we'll let you know what we find out. And so then the last email was that they concluded that the building was not K-State's. It was unclear as to why it was added to their inventory with no notes. So I think they're just going to, yeah. So.
Just turn it back over to us.
So what they were wondering, there's a couple mowers and a drill out there. And I think the mowers are probably Orion's, possibly. No? Okay, I tried calling him the other day and I haven't got back right. No, okay, so,
Liz Bullock has some sort out there.
okay, I need to find that out. They were wondering if the county would be willing to mow around the implements so they could get pictures to put on Purple Wave to get all of that out there.
So that's the tractor. The tractor.
No, the
Correct.
tractors they're coming to get because they
Oh, they
do
are.
own those, yeah. So, but then we have all that equipment out in kind of south of the buildings there. It's grown up with weeds, and they did send someone out to inventory all of that, so they're wanting to put that on Purple Wave.
I think it'd probably be easier just to pick it up with a loader and send it over. Does Glenn have an area there that's weak? Is there some wheat ground there somewhere else?
Well, he planted, it's all big weeds. I mean,
So we need,
Planted big ones?
so we need to mow an area.
I should have finished that sentence. He did not plant big weeds.
There's a market for big weeds now?
There
So
might be.
we need to mow an area and then probably just take a loader and then send
Be
it
really good
aside.
if I could find Philip.
Yeah.
But if that would, okay,
I think that probably is instead of trying to mow it where they're at.
yeah.
You never, you'd be grown up with weeds too, where you.
Well,
So,
I think one of them has a tree growing through it,
Yeah.
so, you know,
So they're gonna take the equipment that's inside the round top.
yeah,
There's
the
a
two
tractor and some
tractors,
drills.
are inventoried under
Yeah.
K-State.
Okay.
And it's, lots of that equipment has K-State inventory numbers.
Okay.
Some of it has K-State inventory numbers that are not on their inventory. So some of that might be a question.
Probably every 50 years they start dropping some of it off.
I don't know. But I just want it cleaned up. I'm sure you're ready to have it all cleaned up. and it's not secure in any way. None of it's insured. And so I just like to get it done. That's where we're at. So you are now the proud new owner. Around
the
top,
grain bins?
And the grain bins.
I can't imagine they would have had that in their own. Because it was a test plot, right?
Right, and that used to be the poor farm,
Yeah.
right? And so there were, I think those grain bins had to have been there at one time, but they
And-
have no record of it.
And the weather station is still there.
Yes, which is, could be moved, it's
Oh, it's gonna be sometime.
I haven't heard
Do you
anything. He's supposed to be
ever
out 2 or 3 weeks
Four
before
farms
he's
house
out.
up there?
What?
You remember when
Christopher Redden?
I don't remember when
Yeah.
you said it.
I
Those
went
are
as
kinds
far
of
as
places.
home.
I think that'd be cool.
And then there's some.
I don't think there's a lot of.
So did every county have the 420 back then?
I remember one
well,
of the
maybe if
Lyon
they
County.
could work together,
three-story
Yeah.
they could move each other
house.
and the weather
Because
station.
back then, they basically no government aid.
No.
If you didn't have money, you would
And I heard many times, we
We
don't
need
have
to
a
get
good
it done, but it might be hard to get in the ground.
Yeah. Yeah, my mom and dad used to tell me that.
You're gonna be lopping quarters in the poor farm.
So what are we gonna do with that?
We'll recess it.
We'll find more stuff to do with it.
Oh,
Since you guys are just sitting around with all cars.
If you can go find, somebody, if you could go find somebody playing cards, go right ahead. The Sandyland, the K-State's basically turning the granary and the round top down there over to us. They're gonna sell all their machinery for the wave. They came out and did an inventory, like the machinery that's sitting outside. They were wondering if we could mow an area and then take a loader and set it over there where they can get pictures of it. Would you guys be able to do that?
Do we have mowers down there?
Do we have more?
She said there's a mower and a
We
drill
don't have
down
any
there.
mowers, do we?
They are asking,
Not, if it is, it's not our.
It wouldn't be Ryan's, he doesn't have any mowers.
here's what they were asking, Rhino 3-point mowers and a John Deere 3-point mower. The green drill would be eyes.
I don't think Ryan has, there's none on the inventory for Ryan.
He would have had to have a tractor because that was a 3-point mower. So
They go under what?
I think
you
these
guys have
are,
that 3-point mower.
As long as I've worked,
so,
Well,
they used to have a
that's-
simple mower. And they had, that was gone long before I got.
And
there.
then
I mean, they
you
moved
had
under
size.
fence, which would be kind of handy at times, but
I would like that.
but you just don't see them anymore.
They're nice components.
Well, that tractor was 3.8. I bet anything under, I bet, I would bet anything over 30 mils.
It was probably moving between plots or something.
But there's no sticker on it.
If K-State doesn't want to accept it, we'll put on a purple set.
Well, I didn't run it, it's purple, it's clean. Yeah.
so we're clear on that, we do not own the mowers unless you want to double check on that for any reason, but,
They're not on his inventory, I guarantee it.
okay. So that's what they needed to know, but yeah, the buildings, grade bins, we're gifting to you.
Yes.
If you want to call it that. And then, and then if we could get that moved so they could come out and take pictures for Purple Wave, and then if people kind of look at it, we'll have to take them out there. to
Well,
look at
tell
it.
them, call them, like that. Moore's gonna be back in town on the summer, northwest today. I don't forget about it this time.
Okay, all right.
They have to
I mean,
take a
wouldn't-
chainsaw too.
Yeah, there is a tree growing through one of the implements.
Oh,
So,
Okay.
I think what they're mow out a spot and take the loader and set it over there. Instead of trying to weed eat up and around and under. It'd be easier to set them out.
I'll go with that, see what
yeah, because some of it's clear out, not clear out, but south of the buildings, and the weeds are, yeah, they're pretty grown up when I was. Be careful.
Don't
I
slip
run into
in the
one of them.
ice.
Well, not too many people in the old houses that
I don't know. I don't remember.
So do I.
So
Thank you.
what would we do with those buildings since we're being get them? Return
Do anything with the rental?
We wouldn't want to store it.
Well, I mean, season salt splitter. All the salt splitters set out there and you've got the dealer, you hang them side, the trucks on it.
What you think about that a little bit? Does your salt shed out here have a concrete flooring?
You know, it has an asphalt floor.
I mean, where that thing there has the asphalt? I mean, your building out there is kind of sketchy. If we build a new one, would we want to take that salt and sand out of town? Where you can build a structure around the concrete that's there?
Some of them have built particular cement walls, so
Where you don't really have it, you just put a hoop building in.
and there are pros and cons. Sometimes it's just right. But in the state, you've got to be on top of things.
I'd like you to at least take a pretty good look at that one top and look through the whole thing and see if there's something. You know, even if the shed's not any good, if you do everything with the concrete, you know, so just turn everything out. And I would think that we ought to put those green bins on the void if we don't get a bid on them.
Well, I thought they tried to sell
We
some
tried to
green,
sell them.
green.
Oh, we already did some.
We did
At
seal
one
bids
time.
years ago.
But that was
and-
just through a local.
Yeah, we advertised
That
and
was-
sealed bids and.
And I guess you could always just call purple and if
Yeah.
that happens, nothing happens. It doesn't
I have
cost.
seen some of those cool bids. I think we ought to, before we just turn it down, I think we ought to at least run a sealed bid in the paper. Because I don't want somebody going, well, I would have done this. Well,
Then you put them on purple and it doesn't cost you nothing.
yeah.
So, yeah, and I don't know for all months, you know, I do know they still want to try to put in a range down there just for rifles. And that I understand, but I don't say, then they, you know, they probably want to go to targets and other sort of things.
Cemetery, yeah.
Oh, yeah, carbonated.
What do you call them?
Those colonies.
What do you call them?
Sea trailer.
Yeah, they are definitely secure and they are waterproof and mouse-proof.
That's what he was thinking.
Yeah, they are. We're sure getting a lot of them. So evidently, those containers, when they've got so long, I like before they.
There's some that are one trippers.
Really.
Yeah, somebody will buy one to ship something over here and then they sit barrel use one time. They're warm up for that. It is.
Which, I mean, they gotta be pretty tough. It's sealed up to keep it, because it does not take much to start around screwing them across all the water.
Yeah, they must have a really good coating on there because I've never seen anyone that are just totally rusted out.
Do you need copies of these emails?
I'll just need a copy of the signed agreement that it's actually ours for my file.
Yep.
Thank you. Thank you, Andy.
Thank you, guys.
And I will get Bella about this. I promise. The property line out here. We need to- I just-
I have some deal for Phil that I got jumping about last week. 5 minutes.
Yeah.
On the days where we have real bad, snow, in the past, have we shut the courthouse down, let the courthouse gals go home because of the income?
It has to be horribly, horribly bad.
Yeah.
We've done it a few times, but not.
So if they if it was bad, and you let the courthouse gals go home 3 hours, the guys down at the county, they gotta stay because it's their job. So then at some later point, do they get 3 days off since the courthouse gals get 3 days off?
3 days?
Or no, 3 hours. I misspoke.
Do they get the
As
same?
far as equal hours, you know, later on sometime.
Barton, yeah, Barton County's got a policy like that, exactly what it is, it's courthouse stuff. It's something else.
I was asking about
And
that.
then I can find out. I mean,
They brought it up like a thing, I was like, I don't know how that works.
oh,
Never
we
happens.
just stick with her. Oh, it's happened all out of me. Only one, I've never worked Christmas in 4 years,
Yeah.
but I have worked Thanksgiving.
Well, if they come in and have to work those days, they're getting paid time and a half.
So, no, that's a strange creature itself.
But they're getting paid extra
But,
time.
yeah, they
And I
get-
think what
they
they were,
get
another
what the person was talking to me about it was saying, well, the guys at the courthouse got 3 hours off because they shut the courthouse off. Even though they went home, they got paid for those 3 hours. So do we get 3 hours extra pay, or do we get 3 hours off, take off really one day? So,
Sometimes
It
it's just the
rarely
way-
happens.
Sometimes
We
it's just
always
the way
try to
life-
run at least a skeleton crew.
Life is.
What are we closed
It's up
twice?
there.
It hasn't snowed that much since I went.
20 years.
Oh, there's one year.
Somebody's-
It's
That
actually
one year-
Quite a bit, but I mean.
Somebody's sucking off.
But we've kind of learned since then that
Life's not
if you're in
perfect.
town, you're gonna stay at work. We usually send the out-of-towners home. And that's up to the department head.
If the school closes,
Oh, no, we don't do that.
No, you'd be out of business.
Yeah. No, and it takes Rob and Philip and, well, you two now to say, we need to close, we don't just do that.
Oh, good.
I mean, it's not something we take lightly.
No, you don't want to see people home at 5 o'clock and all this stuff.
Right.
If there's a blizzard or something.
If it starts
I mean,
icing real bad, we send you out.
So would you just call us and say, it's kind of.
Oh, yeah.
And then we just
We,
kind of.
we contact you guys too.
yeah.
Okay.
It's not something that, like, we don't take it lightly when we do it. But
And actually it starts with the sheriff.
Stay home, what you're going to think, but.
it goes,
They asked me, I asked you, and we're all good now.
Todd, it starts with
I'll
the
get the
sheriff.
policy if we don't.
Yeah.
I didn't know.
Yeah, they do have different. I heard talk about
Okay.
Thank you.
Yep, I'll take a look at that when we get there for next week. So,
Use your imagination, I think that ramp up. Needs to go, needs to be closed.
I bet it's the skylights are blowed out, or we probably just need the skylights.
and yeah, I would like storing some stuff out there.
I mean, you said, I hate this turn.
Yeah,
Turn it. We can get something. Expensive.
Is Mike out?
You're
Yes,
gonna
he
push
is.
it. Very good. And if I do it, it's out here now, you
I will ask what I think.
Yeah.
It's all true.
You know, there's a lot of people, like,
Two.
this combined for,
They had,
For the
fan, I
smoke
mean, they had fan.
like, they had some cranes actually bought some air.
Pretty nice crane.
Oh,
She's trying to sell them.
You know, where it's the final grant, you raise them up about 4 feet.
Oh.
Did they have blowers on those? There was blowers on those.
I think there's blowers and there's some agitator thing
Yeah,
that
yeah.
Really?
circulates the grain.
So there used to be someone there, someone had a flat bottom. Would say on that gravel, it would 10 fish or more. And actually, it had an auger that went in there and things go over that.
Yeah,
But it's a flat bottom, yeah. But once it got toward the bottom, boy, that thing really good.
Yeah.
You better start climbing out of there.
I wish mine would. I had to push mine to get to move.
Oh, boy.
Thank you, Phil.
Dues notice for the National Association of Counties, do you want to tell me again, it's $450.
What is that?
NICO.
That's the National Organization of Counties.
National Association of
You
Counties,
get this email and stuff.
$450.
Yeah,
We're good?
yeah. Did, what was that other, what was that other letter thing, Western Kansas, the LEA?
KLEG.
that the log is?
Yeah.
Yeah, he said.
And they were gonna come out, right?
Yeah, we were Kansas legislative policy.
Yeah.
So we need to make a motion.
Yeah, I'll just look at
Yeah.
Did it come out to tell us that our dues have dropped or diminished?
Absolutely. Well, no, diminished.
Or no, have got cheaper?
We're doing pretty good this year.
I'm afraid of, what's his name, resigning. Most of that stuff on that.
That's somewhere, just won't do it.
Oh, Randall?
Just up the fire.
I think all that stuff, all the legislative stuff is wrong.
You know?
I've talked to the guy left in charge, and he's brand new.
Why did they,
Morning, how are you?
why would they let them do that?
Ready for this one?
Try to get some people.
But besides that, I'm out of gas.
I have no, you know, I didn't.
Yeah, I've got about 3 more weeks of heavy lift, and then it starts creeping down to the end of the year.
Boy, I'm glad they let you.
After
That's all
hearing,
right.
after hearing all the controversy in Florida, you do a really good job.
I could send some ballots up there and make out.
So the next election's already, they already started.
I just wondered how you hit that 8 million ballots and how long that would
Yeah,
take.
it's
One at a time.
You know, I heard that they finally decided in Broward County that who won in 2000, Al Gore won. They finally decided that election here this last week. Al Gore won. No, I'm just teasing. It took them 18 years to get out there.
But that wouldn't surprise me.
And they come up with Al Gore being the winner.
Oh, I'm sure that, yeah. Our town, 50 different people down 50 different ways. Leaders who,
That's just it, there's no uniform way to do it.
Why can't they just spread it out amongst all the counties? They got 59 counties. The rest of them can do it, right? Spread all their ballots out to those counties. Get some help. If you can't do it, tell them you can't do it. Get some help.
That's it, you just need to throw your hands up, and say,
Yeah.
this is it, that's a boil in my head.
I need some distribute them out, get some help. Even in other states.
Well, we could bring in people, you know, US goes across the big pond and monitors voting, or they could bring some of those people over here.
There were 2 from France over
Even Dodge
For
City.
your election?
Well, for this general election, they were in Eastern Kansas.
Oh, I thought you meant they were.
Oh, no,
here
no,
and
no,
stuff.
no, we're small.
Never know.
No,
First elected female in the United States was Arconia, Kansas, back in 18, whatever it was.
we're ready.
ready?
He can listen and he can know
That's good. All right, so if we want to take a look at this sheet right here. Last month I had brought you some numbers and reminded you that we can't lock in things until 60 days out this year. And so these are the exact same numbers that I brought you last time. They have not changed on this sheet here. And we had discussed, we had an option 1, which would be apples to apples with still having that $35,000 specific at the top. But then we discussed moving to that $40,000 because they were giving you about a $17,000 savings going from 185 to 168, and that starts to make pretty good sense on
you'd have to have 4 people go over that amount, excluding those that we already know are going to go over that amount. Those lasered individuals, which we'll talk about here in just a minute. So really what it boils down to is those numbers that we discussed before. My recommendation at this point is that they are giving you enough of a credit to do that. That option 2 and moving to that 50,000 makes sense. Or they wouldn't be giving you that much credit from a stop loss proposal standpoint. Okay. So if you go down to the from a maximum cost standpoint, if you go down to the very bottom, you can look at that you are looking at about a $42,000 overall increase for 2019. That is taking about 15 of that was on the annual specific at the very top, the bold at the very top section. There's another about 2,500 and 600 on the aggregate premium. The attachment point, which that attachment point is what you fund to for claims, was about 14, and then there was about
Where is the attachment point?
attachment point is factors. Yeah.
Okay, yeah.
That one there is going up. So, and how they set that is they look over your last 3 years, and they give more credit to the current year, and they give a little bit less credit to last year, a little bit less to the year before. And they said, okay, this is what we think they will spend next year, and then they put a 25% corridor on top of it. Because you don't want to hit it, and they don't want you to hit it. Neither one of you want to hit it. You all haven't hit that number. You haven't hit that number in years. I mean, as long as I've been coming up here, we have not hit that number. So that number is just kind of an overall protection. That sleep insurance is what I call it. We do have that just horrible year. But anyway, so we had talked last time that you have your reserves built up, that your reserves are more than about a year and a half's worth of claims. And so really you're at a point now that it may not, because I think you fund to, if you look at these numbers down in the bottom left-hand corner, you really kind of fund to those right now. And I would be very comfortable continuing to fund to those numbers for this next year. And if you would need to use some of your reserves, then that's when it would be a good time to use that. So that way you could just leave the funding and the budget alone from that standpoint, or the budget for your health insurance, just leave it flat, right where it is. It absolutely makes sense to do that at this point. And I would still say that based off of your experience, there's a good chance that with that your reserve still goes up even in that scenario, based off of this right here. So that would be my first recommendation. Is taking option 2, but continuing to fund with what is underneath current down at the line. And what that does, that means that you're going to put $40,000 less into the fund, and you would just use reserve if you need it. Does that make sense?
They've already approved this once.
Right.
Do I need to sign
No,
this? And
yes, that's the
another
one that. Oh, did I already get this signed one
I
to
already
Kathy?
got one.
Okay, all right. Then I don't need that one re-signed.
Okay.
But
On this estimated expected cost, where you were talking about funding, what number are you talking?
I'm talking, right now, you are funding to this number right here.
This number?
That's what you have been funding, and you've been funding to that, or to whatever that number is from a maximum standpoint is what you have been funding to.
Okay.
And what my suggestion is this year is take this quote and get the savings on the fixed costs,
Yeah.
but let's
Only fund to this number here?
only fund to that number right there.
Okay.
Is what I'm saying. And you've got the reserves for a year. And you know what, if we spend that and then next year we look at it, then you may want to bump it up a little bit. But there's just no reason to have more than a year and a half worth of claims.
Because if we paid that extra 40, we just wouldn't be building reserves.
There's a very good chance that would happen.
And you're saying even if we do take the $40,000 cut, chances are we're not gonna dip into our reserves at all. I mean, there's
Well,
always
let
a
me
possibility.
let me finish now. So I also had handed, last time we were here, we talked about, and we may need to go into executive session on this discussion for about probably 10 minutes on this one.
I make a motion that we go into executive session for non-elected personnel. People that I would like here is the commissioners, Nita Knight and Mike Minton.
Moved and seconded, we go into executive session for non-elected personnel for 10 minutes. All in favor, say aye. Aye. Motion carried.
That can happen with the dialysis program. And with that becomes eligibility for Medicare. Okay? And so providers try to keep people from taking it because they don't get paid enough from Medicare, or they don't get paid as much from Medicare. And so you also need, from an employer standpoint and from the member standpoint, they want to take it because it's less out of pocket and be less towards the deductible and those kind of things. So we have a dialysis program that only comes into play when and when we're wanting. Actually, this is another thing that across the board that we're wanting to do with all of our groups is put in this program that will trigger it. And what it is that number one, it protects you from large end-stage renal claims that go on for years and years and years. There's a time, if that person goes on Medicare, you all will stay primary, but then after 33 months, you become secondary to Medicare. And so then if that person who starts on that would wait, or let's continue on the plan forever, there's an eventual time where most of the claims aren't your responsibility at all. And then there's also, you need an advocate on this side working with the member to try to help them get through and get Medicare Part B signed up for, because there's an advocate on the other side saying, no, you don't want to do this, because they want to keep getting as much money from you as they can, if that makes sense. Mm-hmm. And so we have this program gets that member engaged, helps them get into the Medicare Part B, explains to them the risks they have, because your plan, once you would become, so let's say the member didn't go get Medicare, your plan is set up right now to pay secondary to Medicare down the road. And so if that member is eligible for Medicare and doesn't take it, they're going to be out of their pocket, they're going to be responsible for whatever Medicare doesn't pay. And so and our advocates walk them through that and explain to them, here's the scenario, this is why you have to go pay the $100 a month to get the Medicare Part B for this. If not, here's what could happen if you continue down the road. And so we've got an advocate that's working with them and helping them understand the true side of it, not just the dollar side from the provider standpoint. And then what that does, that brings those lasers down. We pay the provider, so once somebody's on Medicare, this program then doesn't look at the PPO network anymore. Because the PPO network, the way that is that the provider has agreed to use your PPO, which is Providers Care, and they get paid based off of that agreement. Well, when we separate out the dialysis program, then we can say, no, we're not going to use the PPO if it's not the best thing. We're going to use a Medicare Plus. So we'll pay the provider like Medicare Plus another 30 to 40%, which is above Medicare, gives them, it's reasonable to give them that. But because the member has Medicare now, the provider can't balance bill it. Because if you don't use a PPO network, or if someone goes out of network, and the way that your plan pays, that if a member chooses for any services to go out of network, then they can get balance billed by that provider. But with an end-stage renal disease, they can never be, if they have Medicare in place, your plan can pay I'm just going to use 140% of Medicare, and then the member cannot be balance billed. And we walk through that, this program walks through that entire place. There's no cost to this program whatsoever unless it's triggered. So there's no annual per employee per month or anything like that. And if nobody goes on Medicaid or starts taking dialysis throughout the year or has the end-stage renal, then there's no cost to it whatsoever. If someone does start doing that, we take that claim and we pay it well, first of all, they're going to negotiate. They're going to say, okay, this is where our point is. Will you accept this? They say no, then they say, okay, then this is what we're going to pay you anyways. And they got Medicare, so you can't balance billing, so you're stuck with this. And then the dialysis vendor that we use, which is called Zealous, it's Zealous/Epicare. It's a full-blown program that they get paid a percentage of the savings that they provide. So we're able to look at the PPO network and see if that's the best deal, which would be no cost to you. But if the Epicare can get additional discounts and everything through the program and get the member to where it's supposed to be, we have to pay them 15. It's typically going to be 15% of their savings. So if they save $10,000, additionally, or whatever that is past the PPO, we're going to pay them $1,500, or your plan will pay $1,500 to get that additional discount if there's $10,000 additional. Okay, it's kind of confusing, but it is a program that is an absolute must on your plan now. And we couldn't, if you ever had somebody who was on dialysis, we can't just add it in to your plan at that point. It's now is the time that it needs to go into.
When we enter in, since she's already.
Yep, there's no end-stage renal diagnosis.
We just have to get them to accept it. Does she have to accept it? Or is that something that we just put in?
No, it goes into your plan, and then the dialysis partner once there's the diagnosis, then there's an outreach, there's the communication with the doctor. It's basically a case management that happens specifically for this diagnosis, is what happens.
So if they started dialysis, where you have the deal on there for up to $275,000, if this plan takes effect, then would that drop back down to 125?
It's not going to drop down this year, just because we don't know.
They haven't started
it yet, but you will see lower claim. I mean, you won't spend that additional $150,000 if someone started that. Those claims we're going to be talking are probably going to be around 90. With this program in place, they're going to be around $90,000. So you won't. Now next year, if this is going, then it's going to be based off of the claims. So that number will come down considerably on this right here for the following year. Does that make sense? Because it's based off the claims that actually do happen this year.
So is that an extra fee?
Nope. That we pay? No extra fee unless it's used, and it's based off of additional savings that the plan gets. So if we use let's say we use the PPO network, and it's $150,000 for dialysis for that time period. The fee you're paying right now is a PPO fee, and it's already built in. But if we use this program and we're able to get that 150 of claims down to, I'm just going to use 100, and so $50,000, they're going to ask for 15% of that $50,000. Instead of the 150 with the PPO, now we're paying 100 here because they're able to get a better deal than the PPO. They're going to ask for 15% of that $15,000 or that $50,000, so $7,500. So you're going to end up paying $107,000 versus $150,000. So really, there's no extra money out of your pocket. You pay for it based off the additional savings that they provide.
You're wanting to put this in place January 1, 2019 or today?
January 1, 2019 into your plan.
Because that is not going to hit that before this goes into effect.
Right.
Okay.
Yep.
What if they
Absolutely.
happen to go on dialysis December 15th?
We'll be fine in that scenario. We're going to be fine. Well, right now, based off of what we have from a minute standpoint of discussion, and minutes from your meeting and those kind of, that this is going in place January 1, we're going to be perfectly fine.
So do you need approval on that? Do we need to vote
I
on it?
need a motion.
Oh, you want to wait 1 second? Because I think we had talked last time about outpatient pre-certification when I was here, that's getting added in to your plan this year. And what that was is that it protects your members. So, because a lot of things now are outpatient versus inpatient. They're not staying overnight. And so you're running into the hospitals or the physicians or the surgery centers or whoever it is are doing things without ever getting approval. And then on the backside, the members are having to fight because they stayed, let's say that they put, and the example I think I gave when I was here last time maybe, was that we had one earlier this year where it was an outpatient back surgery and they used a non-FDA approved device that was supposed to be for the lower back, and they used it in the lower neck region instead at the same. And so it was non-FDA approved for that procedure for I think for an adult. It was approved with a child, but it wasn't approved for an adult. And so they just did it without getting any approval. What outpatient pre-cert does is makes those doctors get that approval ahead of time, so your members then don't get a letter saying, hey, sorry, this isn't covered by your plan. It helps protect them, it helps protect your plan, helps protect you to not get beyond that, and our people not to, and really that I've been talked about before. That was what this on this page going from 190 to 275 to that 85 cents down there middle section says the outpatient. That we talked about that last time. At 85 cents per employee. So really, it's going to cost you about $40 a month to do that. And it's going to catch, I'm guaranteeing this next year, it's going to catch a handful of things that, and maybe then the doctor just turns around and says, well, yeah, we can do it this way. That's what we normally see, is say, yeah, if that's not approved. And it's not like we're not trying to deny people, but if it's not FDA approved, your plan doesn't pay for it. That's really what the thing is. So I would include dialysis, in and out, or the outpatient pre-cert. And the only other thing that I wanted to talk about, and I'm sorry I'm hitting you guys with a lot of stuff I finally got, I had, you all from a prescription standpoint have been with a company called Prescription Network of Kansas for a long time, for 20 years you've been here. And I just wanted to, what we did is we wanted to do a repricing, go out to the market. I hired a consultant that understands prescription world and said to them, hey, I need you to go out and look at our contracts, go look at our discounts, and I need you to lead us because this world is so crazy and it changes so quickly. And so they went out and they went to a couple other pharmacy benefit managers and we did a repricing. We used all of the claims from 2017 because I started this in July. And so I wanted a full year of claims. And so if you look at your prescription drug claims, this does not include your one large prescription drug. This is everybody else. Spent about 80. You can see that there was about a little over $1,500 in prescriptions on current. The total ingredient cost, that is what basically the pharmacies get paid. The administration fees was $1 per script for a total of $86,000. Now, if we took those same claims and we went to
Total ingredient costs $87,000, and then.
I'm sorry. And then you get rebates back. You send,
Okay, I
you
did
send
see
back
that.
to,
Okay.
I'm sorry.
Yep, no, I saw that.
That's where you have to add those middle two together and then subtract the third one, or the rebates, to get to $86,000.
Okay.
Sorry, thanks for that catch. So we went to two other PBMs out there. We went to MedTrack and we went to what's called ESI, which is Express Scripts. MedTrack, Prescription Network, is basically a Kansas PBM. Very good. They've done a wonderful job. They're super, I love them to death. Great customer service. MedTrack's base is also a Kansas base, but they're a larger PBM out of Overland Park that we've done business with for 15 years as well. And Express Scripts is a big national PBM, pharmacy benefit manager. And the bigger you are, the bigger rebates you get, because that's how manufacturers determine how many rebates you get, is by the quantity of, I mean, you know how it is in the world. If you're White's Food Liner, you don't get as good a deal as buying your groceries as Walmart does, right? It's just in sheer volume. Same thing here. So if we look across here, you can see that taking the same claims, the total ingredient costs are about the same. They're not a whole lot. There is savings by going to MedTrack or Express Scripts. And I'll talk about the two different MedTracks there in just a second. But you have, and there's no administration fees to hear how they're not charging an additional dollar. And the rebates you can see go up tremendously. The standard, right here, if you see MedTrack, the first column for MedTrack, that would be taking your current plan and just mirroring it over to MedTrack. That, just doing that alone would save about $12,000, or would give you an extra $9,500 in rebates next year. Now, the Select is what I want to mention, and you're one of the last few that has your plan the way it is. The Select, now, there's always drugs out there that what you're looking at here is called, there's a plan with MedTrack and with Express Scripts and even with Prescription Network that you have now that they call the exclusionary list. There's some drugs that they will not cover. Okay? And they won't cover them for one reason only, that there is a lower costing alternative that does the same thing. Okay? I'm going to take an example from a diabetic standpoint. If you look right up here, this blood glucose monitoring, what I've given you here is how many, so this would be a list right now of people on your plan that is using something that would not be covered. Okay, so right now, like on the very first one, there are 3 people that are using a blood glucose monitoring that's called the Contour. So there is a lower costing alternative to that. 3 people would have to make a change.
What's the 8 REX?
The 8, that's the number of times that it's been filled throughout that year, throughout 2017. So 3 people filled that 8 times. Not 8 times each. I mean, it was a total, like one person could have done it twice and the other could have done it 3 times. Okay? And so you can go down through here and you can see that, so that you would have 3, 4, 5 on the utilizer, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14. There would be 14 scripts or utilizers that would have something that would have to change. Now, the beauty about the program is, though, if there is a reason they cannot change, then they can stay on the drug that they're on. Okay? It's called prior authorization. What happens is that how the program works is that if you made the switch to MedTrack, then MedTrack is a 90-day grandfather where everybody can go out and fill their scripts the first 90 days, and then they're going to get a letter in the mail saying, hey, just an FYI, this is no longer going to be covered by your plan, and here's an alternative. Take this to your doctor and see if this will work. 90% of the time, the doctor says, yep, absolutely, that's going to work for you. 10% of the time, the doctor's going to say, no, we already tried that, or no, there's a reason why you can't do this because of another drug that you're taking or something like that. And the doctor and MedTrack get together, authorize it, they can continue taking what they're taking. It's not telling them if they don't have to be taking this higher costing drug and one of the lower costing will work, this moves people in that direction. If there's a reason they have to take that drug, and it's not a hard process. I mean, it's not like it's going to be a battle or there's any, I mean, it's pretty cut and dried. One of the groups in Hutch that I work with recently put this in, and there was an uproar the first few weeks, and as soon as it went through it, they had like 13 changes that were going to be made on employees, And all but one of them was satisfied. The one that was satisfied, she just thinks that the more, and she flat told me, well, the more expensive it is, the better it works. And I just, at that point, I was like, I don't know what else I can say in that scenario. But on the other 12 of them, they were not happy, and there will be some. But the reason why that's important is look right here on the rebates. If we're able to do that second one where it says select, on the second MedTrack one, the standard would be going just like you are now, and we can increase your rebates. The MedTrack second one there says select. That's the exclusionary. That's what I'm showing you right here. You can get an additional, the plan can get an additional $9,000 in rebates by excluding some of those drugs for lower costing alternatives. They're going to pay more. And if we went to Express Scripts and did the exact same thing and had used their exclusionary because they're so much bigger, they're going to get an additional $10,000. So we're talking next year that obviously this is 2017 data because I wanted a full year when I started this product. 2018, the mix, there might be a little bit more of a mix, but that means next year, instead of getting $800 checks in the mail, like you get it every quarter, at the end of next year, because they always run about 6 months behind, so July, that check's going to be $7,000, $8,000 that you get in the mail to put back into your claims account. The rebates the plan gets for this. And that's a lot of money. That's why I wanted to make sure to bring this to you for discussion. There is disruption with it, and you've been with Prescription Network for a long, long time. Again, they're wonderful people. We're already doing new cards for everybody because of the outpatient pre-certification that we've got to do. We can change. I'm comfortable staying, and I know member disruption is a big, big thing. And so, but I wanted to share this with you because if I didn't share it with you, someone next year is going to walk in and say, hey, I can save you a bunch of money on your prescription drugs.
If we're going to change, will there be any difference between going with these two, with the national company or the MedTrack?
Well, it's just really from our standpoint, we have a dedicated, on both of those, we have a dedicated account management team just like we do with Prescription Network right now. So if we have issues or if we have just anything that pops up, we've got a dedicated team. I'm comfortable with moving to either one of them. All three of them are wonderful to work with. Even the national, they didn't used to be, and they completely over the last 3 years, we've worked with them for about 10 years on a few groups. In the last few years, they've become wonderful to work with. We've got our own account management team, and they get us answers just as quick. The difference between going with these two would be if you went with the exclusionary plan, you're going to save another $10,000. Or I say save, you're going to get an additional $10,000 in rebates. They're going to come back to the plan later on. It's not member. There's not going to be increase to the cost to the members. So there's none of that disruption. There always can be, I can't remember, you a 2-tier prescription drug plan? 3-tier. It's a 3-tier right now. So you're a 3-tier prescription drug plan. There's always the ability that one that's on the middle tier right now may end up on the top tier, or one on the top tier may go to the middle tier. But those are all, they've gotten pretty standard on where they're covered on the tiers, on the co-pays, whether you're spending $15 or $30 or $45 or whatever it is. Now there's a lot of changes going on, right? The dialysis program is not for the masses, right? The outpatient pre-certification is not going to be a big change for everybody. They just need to be aware of it, and we're going to give you a one-page slip that talks about it, as well as it'll be on their cards, their new cards. And so this would really be, from the nutshell, this would be the one big thing that could stir up some noise.
So, just for clarification on mine, so if you have John Doe and he's taking
taking some kind of a diabetes medicine and it's not on the list, there will be a paperwork or form or something they'll take into their doctor, and their doctor will say, we've tried this other form, this other medicine that's been approved and it doesn't work. That's why we're on this more expensive one. The doctor sends that in, and then they go ahead and
Absolutely.
they're just basically one of the people to change, and the doctor goes, yeah, we can do this, and no problem.
Yep.
Okay.
So where you deal with the people at the courthouse and everything, do you think there's gonna be a lot of pushback to this, or think it'd be a good deal?
If it's gonna save you money, yes. And that's what
And
I'll
more
tell them.
paying.
I mean, if they want their cost per month to go up, they can stand where they are.
Because I mean, we've basically been eating all the increases ourselves. So we need to try to do whatever we can.
And this is pretty minimal, really, as far as, it's not gonna affect a lot of employees.
Well, Mike, I noticed on this example you gave, you have four patients that are diabetic, or they have blood sugar problems. 3 asthmatic, 2 ED, and 1 ulcer. Of those 10. So you've got 10 people with 4 different categories. 4 of them are diabetic, 3 asthma, 3 ED, and 1 ulcer. So the omeprazole, it's pretty cheap.
Right. Well, and it may not be, and again, I'm not an expert on this, so, and I don't have any of these fortunately right now, so, like this one here, that 1-4, is that right there very easily could be that this is a, whatever it is a higher costing. I mean, that's the bottom line here, is I don't know why that would be on here right now, unless it's over the counter, needs to be taken versus that or something.
The omeprazole,
Yeah.
it used to be $2.48 a capsule. It's now 14 days supply is $14.
Yeah. I don't know that.
He was a drug dealer.
Oh.
In his past life.
He's a drug dealer. Yeah. So, I mean, again, this is just a list that was given to me by looking at the claims. I don't know why specifically everything's on there that it is, other than just always what I've seen, and I will tell you that you probably have a half dozen groups that have not implemented this type of program into their plan out of our 90-some groups that we work with. But again, you guys have been just going right along. You've got 2 opportunities, I think, within this renewal to save some money, and this is one of them. My suggestion would be to go at this, and here's the thing, we can always go back. Let's say a year from now, you know what, this is not working for us, or even halfway through the year. The worst case scenario is if you guys called me and said, hey, we don't want to do this, is that we've got to reprint new cards and move back on a certain date, you know. But it makes a lot. I mean, $31,000. I mean, that's almost cutting your drug spend on everybody else by half.
You said this ESI is Express Scripts. See, they're a huge PBM.
Right.
And I think
Second largest, I think.
have they been purchased by CVS?
The division that I work with is not. Well, I think it's gone through, right? It just recently was. Approved. I don't think it's gone through. It was approved by whoever for those big mergers. I can't think of who it is that does that.
Will you also give me a flyer with information on the new drug plan too?
Absolutely. Absolutely. And we'll talk about the grandfather, because that's the key thing is the grandfather. We don't want someone going in January and go to fill their script for the first time and say no, you can't have it, and then not have something. So once we go through the first 90 days, whoever has filled a script will get communication mailed to them that will say, hey, this is not covered anymore. You need to, here are your other, and it's not usually one, it's usually multiple options. Take this back to your doctor, and if one of these will work, that'll be covered on the plan. If not, here's plan B. have your, we can have communications, reach
I
out.
think as long as it's crystal clear what they need to do, or if they bring it in, we know what to tell them. I mean, we're saving money, guys. That's the name of
No, I
the game.
have no problem with his Express
And I don't think
Scripts.
the employees
Yeah,
will either.
I mean,
4 years ago, 5 years ago, I'd have told you from a customer service standpoint, they're a nightmare, do not go with them. And I am very confident in the team that we have, that we work with there now. And our consultant is the one who brought that team, well, they didn't bring that entire team to us, but they kind of put the team together, additional members that they bring to the table. So,
no, I've used Express Scripts. But then the company changed, now the name.
yeah.
But
Express Scripts
there
has
again,
been, they've been, the last few years, they've been very good.
But you look at tier ones, tier twos, there's a lot of products available in tier one. It's like going from Chevy to a Cadillac. They both work the same.
I agree with you. Well, now we've got even some generic drugs that are more expensive than the brand name
Absolutely.
drugs. And so, that's some of this right here, is that from a generic standpoint, is that, yeah, you're paying the lower copay, but let's exclude that right now, because it costs more than the brand name drug costs. I don't know how they do that, but it is. I mean, yeah. They're all just so, and really from a standpoint of the change to that, and again, we'll provide you with all the information that you need, and I would even come out and talk to if you want me to come out and visit about the different well, I don't know that we necessarily need to visit about the dialysis program at this time, but to visit about the outpatient
I
pre-cert.
think that's pretty self-explanatory. I mean, give permission.
Let me give you Kurt's cell number and you can
And-
hand that out.
I mean, if we find that we're having a lot of issues, yeah, I'll have you come out, but this is gonna be the one that if it's explained to them, and if you're one of them, say.
Estimate.
It is what it is.
It's just a huge difference. 30 grand is
And
Good
we're-
grant.
30 grand.
the county's paying for that, so.
And again, if there is a reason they have to stay on it, they will be able to stay on it.
Absolutely.
And if
That's-
they know that,
You might have to do a little extra paperwork.
right.
But
But it's just a way of trying to, like you say, trying to keep your rates from having to increase or your benefits to change, and it makes sense to do it. If you went fully insured right now with Blue Cross or Coventry or Aetna or anybody, it's automatically in there. All the fully insured plans have it now, and it's not a bad thing. The only thing is with the fully insured, they don't give you the option. They just say it's not covered. And your plan's going to say, hey, if you absolutely have to have it for some reason, we're going to do it for you. So I would say, if you're talking about doing that, so we've got three things: the dialysis program, the outpatient pre-cert, and the switch. And again, my recommendation would also be to take. I'm comfortable with MedTrack or Express Scripts, but I would take the bigger savings, the bigger rebates to come back.
So, back to this first page with the current, with two options. If we go up to the $40,000,
Which you already have. You approved that last.
yeah, we've already approved that, which that'll be basically a $24,000 increase for the year. What we'll be paying, right? From this number to this number,
Oh, yes.
that's 24,000. But then if we fund, instead of going up with our funding, if we keep the funding at the current rate now,
Right here.
yeah. So we're only looking at a $24,000 increase.
Yes.
Okay.
which would be
Well-
offset with the Express Scripts rebates.
Is that right?
Right.
But on the $24,000 increase, which we're not saying is too bad, say we roughly have 50 employees on insurance, I mean, it's about $1,000. No, it'd only be a $500 increase. Okay.
That answered my question.
I would maybe we go with dialysis edition, outpatient recertification, and the express scripts prescription.
Second.
It's been moved and second.
Yes. Okay.
We enter in the agreement with the dialysis, the outpatient pre-approval, and the ESI prescription plan. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye, motion carried.
Tell you what, though, I do want to tell you guys from a following standpoint, I'm very impressed with you guys. Because normally, that conversation I was dreading all the way here, like, oh my gosh. And that is wonderful that you guys are in tune on that, so.
I was fighting it.
Yeah.
But
All
I
right,
made it.
well, we'll be in touch soon then.
Okay.
All right, and thank you all very much. Appreciate it. All right, have a great day. Great Thanksgiving.
Oh,
Have a great
No,
day.
it's all right.
Thank you. Bye.
Clay had mentioned that he talked to Mid-Continent at KAC. I got this proposal back the other day. I made you guys, you want to take this and read it? I don't think there's a time limit. You want to decide on it next week. He took pictures. He has exactly what they're going to do at a cost of $15,993. The above price shall be valid for a period of 60 days.
So are they gonna fix this where people have tried to take them 20?
Well, yeah,
Who did that?
they don't.
Did
They
they
did.
do?
Well, they've done it for years.
So they're gonna fix what they did last year?
Oh, they have been for years. So, like I said, you want to take this and study it. We don't have to decide this today. It's where you want to go.
Yeah, I'd like to at least a chance to read this over.
Okay.
Can we put this on the agenda for next week to discuss this?
Absolutely.
It's probably been like 5, 6 years.
I can look.
I think it's been 5 or 6 years.
Because the last was done over here. It was the chimney.
I think right when I came home to it.
And they do like a quarter, one side of the building a year?
Well, we
or they
did
do-
at that
We did, but I think this is
You do
for the
anything.
whole thing.
You can do it all.
Yeah, I think this is for, let me look.
Because one year we did this side, the following year we did it for, did he go up and look in the courtroom?
I
Was that included?
honestly didn't even notice it.
I told him about it.
He called and said they were coming, but I don't know when they came. The last time we paid them was 2013. So that's been
Yep.
5 years.
Right when we first came home.
So,
Okay. We covered everything?
I hope so.
I forgot to ask Mike about the Rose Valley. Is in Sienna Township.
Okay, if there's anything else, we're adjourned.